Alright everybody, MinMax Munchkin back with another video. First and foremost, as I usually do, shout out to my patrons. So Mike, Matthew Ewing, Larry Hocken, BardlyManHardlyTrying, Rogor, Jared Henderson, Kaleron, SuburbanHell, Frank Fan, Albert Kwak, Aidan Harth, Gary Course, Brad Oldham, C Alcazar, Bredwin, your boy Fox, Bryan Moten, Sean, Guise, Mannozzi Stefano, Adekoya, Zeb McCubbin, Nathan James, PrimalBassBoost, bittenbi, Kyle, Shykes, Trevor Green, gaston, ramirez, Jordan Smith, Bassett, Lloyd, and Lord Gazda. Thank you all new and old patrons for your continued support. For all of you who are not on this list, if you are interested, the option of chucking a buck my way is always open. It's not mandatory. I release all my videos for free, so you can just keep watching them. But if you want some more convenience and some more perks, definitely go and check out my Patreon page. I have several tiers, and I'm releasing stuff very often as I'm releasing new videos, as you can see. With that said, again, none of this is mandatory. If it's only if you're interested. Yeah, that's about it. As you can see from the title of the video, we are reviewing one of the newest Unearthed Arcanas. I am reviewing them. Now, it's been a month since it's been released, so it's kind of old news, but it's still relatively fresh. And yeah, I really want to delve into these new playtest materials and options. So here we go. I'm doing them one by one. I've already did Bard and Paladin a couple of days ago, so if you're interested, go and check out that video. It's somewhere on my channel. You can find it easily if you just go and check it out. But yeah, today's topic is Cleric, Druid, and Wizard, three newest subclasses that were released in Unearthed Arcana. The first one is obviously the Twilight Domain Cleric. These clerics are actually equipped with many features to brave the dangers of the darkest corners of the world. In fact, some of them are downright OP, overpowered in my opinion, even though they thematically do make a lot of sense. The spooky vibe allows for a wider range of roleplay concepts, and I can easily see a more sinister character using this particular subclass as a mechanical backbone for its escapades. Now, first we have the domain spells, as every cleric domain subclass does. Fairy Fire is pretty much one of the best spells to support the sluggers in your party, dealing massive damage more often. Sleep is actually... I personally never really liked this spell, even though that many people swear by how great it is. 5d8 is too swingy in my experience. It obviously, nobody will tell you that it scales well, because it doesn't at higher levels, and it kind of depends on meta knowledge, monster seed points, for it to be effective. So yeah, if you're dealing with goblins and kobolds, you're pretty certain this spell is gonna work, but that's because you've been playing a game for a while, right? And you know that those goblins have like 7-8 hit points, kobolds have like 5 to 7 hit points. So this spell might actually drop a bunch of them unconscious, but that's, you know, that's kind of like a meta knowledge, system knowledge. And this spell kind of relies on that, you know. And if you're dealing with some custom monster, you don't know whether it has like 27 hit points or whether it has just 11 hit points, you know. So yeah, for those reasons, I really kind of never liked this spell. Again, on the other hand, I can't deny how powerful it is when it works, you know. So it is what it is. Darkness makes thematic sense for the level 3, for the second level spell that you get at level 3. It's just that it often hurts your allies more than your enemies, so be careful how you use it. Invisibility is definitely something that makes sense as well, and it's good on any full caster. So you being a cleric, this subclass being a cleric subclass, that's definitely applicable. Scales well because you can target more creatures using higher level slots. Helps the stealthy party members do many stealthy things. And yeah, the utility and usability of this spell is, we can talk for days about it, but obviously this video would last way too long. So the spell that really makes this subclass somewhat bonkers is Aura of Vitality. It's a paladin exclusive spell, therefore sort of a bard spell as well, but you know, it's a paladin, it's only on the paladin list. Paladins get this spell at level 9. Clerics get it at level 5 because you know half casters and full casters. Half casters spell casting progression gets progressively slower and slower, while full casters maintain their every 2 levels higher level spells. For that reason, Aura of Vitality is actually even more nuts on clerics than it is on paladins. It's very good on paladins as it is, you know, because it provides a decent amount of healing, but on clerics who can cast this spell way sooner than paladins, it's even more nuts. Leomon's Tiny Hut is one of the best utility spells in the game, period. You know, it provides comfortable, safe, long rests in any kind of dangerous environments. And you being able to cast this, even though this is strictly wizard or bard spell, yeah, it speaks volumes about this class. You know, you get a decent amount of very powerful toys at your disposal. Now, Aura of Life, I personally think that this spell is a bit too situational even for paladins. But you never know when you might be dealing with hordes of undead and other creatures that deal necrotic damage and suck the life out of you and your allies. So just having this spell prepared for free, it's a no-brainer, right? You have it for free, you might as well never use it, but if the opportunity ever arises that you have to actually use this spell because it provides relevant benefits, I mean, you always have it prepared, so, I mean, there's nothing bad about it. Greater Invisibility, it's a combat buff that's always good on paladins or rogues dishing out massive divine smite and sneak attack damages. Obviously, as you can see, this is sort of like an arcane spell, but you get it as well. So obviously casting it on any party member who can benefit from the invisible condition is a good thing, because invisible condition, obviously unseen attacker advantage on all attacks. All attacks against the attacker have disadvantage. The attacker doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. All of those good things. So yeah, definitely good. Circle of Power is one of the best paladin defensive spells, and the fact that this cleric gets it for free, basically 8 levels before paladins get it, is, in my opinion, insane. Dream is another thematic spell. I mean, I do consider this spell more of a DM spell than something that PCs can often use reliably, but it does open up an option of manipulating certain NPCs through visions and maybe even driving them mad and ultimately killing them through exhaustion because they can't finish long rests, you know, whatever. So you have at least that option, you know. So yeah, that's it about spells. I do think that this list of spells is quite potent. Not every spell on this list is, I mean, look, some of these spells are, in my opinion, shouldn't even be on this list, namely Aura of Vitality. That's just my opinion. This spell should be paladin only spells, which, you know, if bards choose to use their magical secrets on it, sure, but I'm not really sold on clerics getting this spell. They already have way too much healing, and giving them even more, not sure if that's a good thing or not, but it definitely offers more power than they already have. So yeah, that's it about spells. Even Leomon's Tiny Hut, like, it's a very good reason that only Bard and Wizard has this spell, but now clerics do. So what do you know, right? More and more power to these new Unearthed Arcana subclasses. Obviously, at level 1, similar to many other clerics out there, a lot of domains come with heavy armor and martial weapon proficiency, so this subclass, this domain, is no different, no exception. Eyes of the Night is, like, this feature is just nuts. No range limit for your own dark vision, and the option to magically extend this to anybody in your near vicinity for up to 50 with no magic items, or even up to 100 minutes with some magic items, is absolutely ridiculous. Considering how even the highest challenge rating monsters, special senses and other subclasses with bigger dark vision range, for example Shadow Sorcerer, Gloomstalker Ranger, none of those features and traits extend past 120 feet, with the exception of Tiamat. Tiamat is the only stat block that has 240 feet. I think it's like dark vision if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, let me just check. Yeah, so it's a bit busted. Give me a second. Yeah, so I think it's 240. Yeah, but it's like the only thing in the game that I know of that has like more than 120 feet. These special senses. And even True Sight, as you can see, it's only like 120 feet. So, you having no range on this, it's just too ridiculous. And yeah, I mean, look, the easiest way that I see is to balance this feature is to simply cut it down to 120 feet range. So that it's kind of like on the same page with all these other monsters and stat blocks and whatnot, you know. So that's just my opinion on it, how to make it more balanced, because, you know, okay, sure, you have no limit to how far your dark vision extends, but then none of your party members has any limit to how much their dark vision extends, and you can give all of your party members this feature at level 1. It's I don't know, it's a bit too much. And even then, if you limit this feature to 120 feet, is, you know, extending this to all party members when needed makes so many monsters with the same special sense range much easier to see and target with spells and attacks. You know, if we go by some of the even the highest challenge rating monsters, they all have like special senses up to 120 feet. So yeah, there we go. Like Zariel, one of the archdevils, dark vision 120 feet. So basically, you know, she can kind of like stay on the edges of her dark vision and abuse that mechanic. But now having this cleric from level 1, that's completely out of the question, you know. So for that reason, I don't think reducing the duration of this feature, extending it to your party members to like 1 minute instead of 10 minutes, I don't think even that, on top of the reducing the range, giving a limit, would be too much of a nerf. But either thing would be a good start. Just leaving this feature as is, I think, is a bit too much for a level 1 feature. People often underestimate how powerful dark vision is in relation to some of these monsters, and DMs using them optimally and stuff, you know, because most characters that even do have dark vision come like with 60 feet dark vision. You have to be a special subclass, you know, Shadow Sorcerer, or I don't know, even Gloomstalkers have like 90 feet dark vision. So yeah, in a way, like, this feature is legitimately broken. It's overpowered. I think it should be nerfed. That's just my opinion. Vigilant Blessing initiative is largely irrelevant, but certain classes, particularly Assassin Rogues, for example, do benefit much more from it. And even if you use this feature on yourself, it's still good because you can act before your party members get their turn, and therefore maximize the benefit of your support spells and features. For example, you are first on the initiative and you are dealing with some dark space, and you didn't extend the benefit of your dark vision, and now you have your action, you give everybody dark vision, everybody sees everything, you know. So just right off the bat, you don't even have to worry about spells and all these other things. I mean, look, you go first on the initiative, you cast Fairy Fire. That means all of your other party members gain the full benefit of this spell during the very first round of combat. You cast, I don't know, Aura Vitality. That means even if somebody gets damaged, you can still... well, Aura Vitality is not really that good with higher initiative, but let's say greater invisibility, you know. All of these spells and features are really, really good when you go first, because you can have the most optimal choice of how to use it, you know. So, and obviously Fairy Fire does depend on initiative a little bit, because if you're low on the initiative and the enemies get kind of like, you know, they spread around and they get closer to your allies and everything, then Fairy Fire gets, like, the diminishing returns of the spell get more and more pronounced. Obviously, being higher on the initiative track is good in some regards, and in this particular case, you do have a lot of tools at your disposal that can actually be very useful by you being higher on the initiative. In terms of Channel Divinity, Twilight Sanctuary, on lower levels, this 30 feet aura, which you activate using your action, I mean, so in a way it's kind of balanced, but it does offer a super potent way to provide a constant trickle of pseudo healing to everyone without spending a single spell slot. Now, yeah, sure, it is a temporary hit points, they don't stack, but clerics get 2 uses of Channel Divinity at level 6, and the best thing is this thing doesn't even require concentration, so if you and your party members are getting bombarded with fireballs and other sources of AoE damage, meaning that everybody is getting damaged all the time, you can effectively negate a considerable portion of that damage just by this Channel Divinity alone, not to mention combining it with Aura of Vitality after you hit level 5. Obviously for like super potent healing. Basically you have AoE healing with this feature and that spell alone. So yeah, I mean, at higher levels the scaling doesn't, the healing doesn't scale that well, but the feature itself, the Channel Divinity itself, does, because progressively more and more monsters and effects do inflict charmed and frightened conditions, so just being able to end those using your action, it's using your action once, you know, you just need to, for the creatures to end their turn in your aura, which is a considerable aura. 30-foot radius aura is not, it's not a small aura at all. So yeah, I think this is very relevant at any level. Steps of the Brave is, look, advantage against frightened condition is kind of redundant considering you can simply end it with your Channel Divinity. But temporary bursts of flying speed that use your bonus action provide a considerable increase in 3-dimensional mobility, and considering how front-loaded this subclass is, this feature makes sure that it doesn't get into the certified overpowered territory, because I think this is just a balanced level 6 feature in combination with all of these other lower and higher level features. At level 8 you get your Divine Strike, at level 14 it gets a little bit better. It's a standard level 8, level 14 druid feature, cleric feature. In this particular case, it stacks psychic damage on top of your weapon damage. Nothing that we haven't seen so far with other classes, with other different types of damages that they stack on top. It does make a little bit of a thematic sense. I mean, it's probably the best damage that in terms of theme. I don't think, maybe necrotic would make sense to some extent, but I think psychic is pretty spot on. And yeah, it's not as resisted damage type as maybe fire, cold, or other damage types, so in that regard it might be slightly better in a more variety and wider range of scenarios. But like, it again, it's situational, and you might be dealing with a creature who is even immune to psychic damage, so you never know, you know. And obviously it's something that most martially oriented, or at least cleric subclasses that do get these more kind of like frontline features, they get Divine Strike. So yeah, nothing unseen, nothing unheard of, and therefore I consider this a balanced feature because you can't really go wrong with it. Midnight Shroud, even though, look, like, okay, so I think everybody by this point knows about the Darkness Devil Sight combo that warlocks like to abuse. You know, you cast Darkness, you have your Devil Sight invocation, and then obviously you just abuse it for the permanent advantage. By level 17, you can expect to deal with monsters that have special senses other than Arc Vision. We can already see that, for example, I don't know, let's just click some random high CR monster. Well, I mean, they do rely on Dark Vision, a lot of them, but a lot of them do have True Sight, for example. This one, yeah, true sight, so other monsters might have like blind sight or whatever. So yeah, you will be dealing with monsters that have special senses other than dark vision, but this can still easily snowball and result in an overly lopsided encounters if you have a party relying on ranged attacks exceeding the range of 120 feet. The maximum distance all special senses extend to, save for Tiamat, which is obviously, I mean, it's a god, you know, so you can't really... a god should have some broken stuff on its stat block. And look, if you're constantly operating in small confined spaces, it might not be as prominent, but the potential for abuse from the whole party is yet another thing the DM will have to worry about on top of all the typical tier 4 power most PCs wield. So I don't consider this overpowered, but this can definitely give even one more thing for the DM to worry about, you know, because if the DM doesn't take this into account, this can easily snowball encounters that are, I don't know, even like I've DM'd high level campaigns, high level sessions, and you can like five times deadly encounters are nothing for tier 4 characters. And with this thing being universally abusable by everybody, yeah, it becomes something else, you know. So some combos are just better off kept in check. And if your DM allows you to play this class and you get up to level 17 for one way or another, he or she is probably gonna have some tools in its arsenal to deal with this, because it's not something that is just like overpowered, but if it's not dealt with, if it's not accounted for, it can definitely, again, as I said, snowball encounters too much, in my opinion. Even for a level 17 feature. It's just, you know, you yourself being able to abuse darkness, it's one thing, but all of your party being able to abuse darkness, it's a bit too much. So yeah, expect your DM to have some countermeasures against that. That's just, you know, what I consider a balanced encounter design. Anyway, let's not spend too much time more on clerics. Let's go on to the druid. Circle of Wildfire. Sometimes you just need to burn everything down for it to rise out of ashes, reborn and refreshed. If you ever wanted to play a druid but just can't live without fireball, now you can have your cake and eat it too. Nothing about this subclass seems downright overpowered to me, but it will probably get tweaked if it becomes official. Circle spells right off the bat at level 2. Wildfire Druid spells reflect the theme of control destruction. Locate animals and plants, allows them to avoid inflicting unnecessary harm before burning off interlopers and other unwanted elements with Scorching Ray. The latter is more practical for everyday adventuring uses. You know, Scorching Ray can pretty much be used in any combat, you know. It's not the best level 2 spell, but it's not the worst one either, so it's pretty much balanced in my opinion. But the locate animal and plants, you know, might not be, you know, if the campaign features a lot of exploration and spending time in wilderness, you might find uses for the former as well, but I mean, why would you ever locate animals or plants? I mean, it's pretty much, I don't remember ever actually needing that. So yeah, it's kind of situational. Fireball, obviously, I mean, it's one of the most iconic D&D spells. There are a lot of memes around it, and obviously everybody, I think, by this point knows about this spell. It's a must-have anyway for any caster that has access to it, but after you're done burning off the dead matter with this, you know, because you do kind of have some duties as a Circle of Wildfire Druid, plant growth pretty much allows for new vegetation to sprout right away. Both spells you will most likely find yourself using quite often, because they are very useful. Fireball obviously for killing things and burning shit to the ground, and plant growth is actually very effective control spell because it seriously hampers the movement speed of your enemies. Be careful where you place it, because if it gets in the way of your allies, they will have to spend 4 feet of movement for every 1 foot they move. So yeah, be careful. Aura of Life, again, I mean, I kind of mentioned that it's situational for clerics, so it doesn't change the fact it's situational for you, for the druids as well, but you get it for free, similar to clerics, so you can't really complain. I mean, if the situation arises, why not, you know? Fire Shield, I mean, it makes sense, and it comes in handy as a protection against sort of like occupation hazards, you know. Every now and then you might actually cause some accidental wildfires, right? Because it's in the name of your occupation. So, you know, being able to protect from some of that, actually, you know, it's not even that much of a protection, but obviously, you know, being able to deal damage and all of that stuff. I mean, it does offer resistance, but you still take some damage. The good thing about Fire Shield, though, is that it doesn't require concentration and it lasts for 10 minutes, so there might be some potential for this spell lasting for multiple combat encounters, or even, you know, you having to go through some lava pits or maybe some like just fire, forest fire. This might be something to help you in more scenarios other than combat, you know. Flame Strike, I just, you know, okay, so I think this spell is only better when dealing with creatures that are resistant or immune to fire damage and that are sort of like in a close proximity next to each other, because it's got less of you know, less radius than Fireball. It deals the same damage. Sure, it's a 40-foot cylinder, but I mean, maybe if you're dealing with flying creatures, or I don't know, creatures that are on the trees, so you can affect more of them. But then again, I mean, if you cast Fireball 20 feet off the ground, it can still affect 20 feet above the ground, so above the point that you choose, so it's still 40 feet in the air. So it's the same damage, same amount of damage, but it's a different type. It's kind of like halfway through the Radiant and Fire, so sure, I mean, it might be occasionally better, but in most cases you're probably better off just casting Fireball, because it's a lower level spell deals the same amount of damage, and it's got a higher area of effect. Raise that obviously makes it much easier to avoid changing the racial profile of your party members every time one of them dies. If you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, I'm actually talking about Reincarnate spell, which every druid has access to. The unfortunate byproduct of casting this spell is that you inevitably change the race of your target. So if your party member dies and it's, I don't know, some race, you make it one of these races, and you know, yeah, sure, you revive him or her or it, but now it's the member of another race. So if you want to avoid that, this druid can definitely help you with that. And yeah, that's it about spells. I mean, it's, as you can see, it's nothing out of the ordinary. I think this is pretty balanced. Follows the theme of the druid that's, you know, dedicated its life to controlled flames and that help flora and fauna reproduce and grow, and obviously, you know, preserves the cycle of life and death through some controlled destruction, allowing new life to sprout and gets reborn out of the ashes. At level 2 you also get Summon Wildfire feature, which is basically Wildfire, which is basically allowing you to bond with the fiery spirit, which is this small elemental, which offers you some extra perks. Of course, this feature opens up an alternative way to use your core druid wild shape feature. You can summon a small elemental whose hit points, saving throws, accuracy and damage scales with your proficiency bonus. It does deal a bit of AoE damage the moment you summon it, and it acts on your own initiative after you're done with your own turn. It's actually quite powerful at lower levels. At level 2, once you get it, it's actually amazing, allowing you to soak up some damage with the elemental without you actually being the one who takes the remaining damage. And all of this using your, obviously, bonus action. You can deal even more damage, because with using your bonus action you can make it cast Flame Seed, which doesn't have a lot of range, but it's a ranged weapon attack, and it scales up with your proficiency bonus and all of that. It does have a considerable amount of hit points. The AC is low, saving throws are kind of whatever, you know, dex is good, con is... I mean, sure, these wisdom and dexterity saving throws are quite prevalent, but considering the fact that it's never gonna surpass a ridiculous amount of hit points anyway, I mean, it's gonna have what, like 5 times your level, so it's up to 100 using your level, and then wisdom is another 10 with magic items maybe, so that's 110, and then constitution so 112. That's not a lot of hit points at level 20, so it can easily die way before that. You know, at higher levels it doesn't scale that well on its own, but into higher tiers it synergizes very nicely with higher level features, first of which is enhanced bond. As long as the elemental is alive, you can deal even more damage with your fire-based spells, and heal even more hit points with any of your healing spells. The positioning of the elemental comes into play as well, because you can considerably extend the range of the spells you're casting by choosing the origin of the spells being the elemental, the wildfire spirit, right? Instead of being you. So it does offer you additional way of kind of like improving your spellcasting feature. Flames of Life at level 10. Dealing damage with this feature won't be easy. Why would any of your allies ever touch the burning corpses of the victims of your attacks, right? Of your spells or whatever way you, or not even you, like somebody, right? Kill the smaller, larger creature, and then you envelop it in flames. So how do you actually force an enemy to touch that corpse? Well, there are ways, obviously, but you know, it's way easier for you to heal your allies in this way, because it can go a long way towards preserving spell slots. Instead of casting healing words or any other healing spell, you just use your reaction, and for the next minute, whoever touches the creature regains 2d10 plus wisdom modifier hit points, you know. So this might not be a lot of healing for level 10, but it's a continuous healing that you can do for 1 minute, so it does actually end up conserving quite a bit of slots, and the feature is worded in a way that it doesn't really require any action. It's not explicitly said, but it's sort of implied when a creature can see touches the flames, so it doesn't say the creature needs to use a bonus action or anything. So if you ask me as a DM, I would say this falls under the kind of like what's colloquially called as a free action. So this would be like, that would be kind of like interact with your environment and your surroundings, interact with an object, whatever, you know, kind of like that free action, you know. So that if the creature needs to spend anything, it would definitely be that, because this feature doesn't specify the use of anything other than your own reaction to use it. It is limited in the way how many times you can use it, but obviously at some point your wisdom modifier will be at least +4, so yeah, you will be able to actually get quite a bit of healing using this feature. And heck, you can go as far as keeping a herd of captured pests and other vermin, selectively kill them off, and then heal your allies with them. Because, again, you are only preserving the cycle of life and death, right? So, pests and vermin, they need to die anyway. So, you kill them and then you heal your allies. So, it's very, very effective in combat, even out of combat. If you're out of hit dice and your DM is forcing you to absolutely stretch your short rest, all of your spell slots and healing, this can give you even one more way, as if healing spirit and all the other healing you can do is not enough. Yeah, this is actually quite potent, not gonna lie. Blazing Endurance, even though it will most likely hurt your allies in the close proximity, you basically self-heal for 71 to 101 hit points once a day if you get knocked down to 0 hit points. It's very unlikely that at level 14 you will receive massive damage, meaning that you're gonna get one instance of damage so vast that it's gonna extend the maximum amount of hit points that you have. It's pretty much gonna be the double your maximum amount of hit points. that's very unlikely at level 14. I mean, there might be some custom monsters, homebrew monsters that the DM is dropping at you. Sure, that's always a thing that's possible, but I mean, even I, with some bullshit monsters that I made, I never actually made monsters that deal more than 150 damage in one hit. And, you know, sure, that might be a lot of damage, but that's not the damage that can actually kill you outright. Well, depending on the circumstances, it might, you know. But again, you have other things, you know, you have absorb elements, you have other features that can prevent some of that damage. So, spells and features. So, this basically leaves only a few options to kill you outright. So, disintegrate spell comes to mind, obviously, because if it drops you down to 0, kills you outright, right? So, you know, to actually get you in serious trouble right away, there's not a lot of ways. And I can see this feature receiving a slight nerf if this subclass ever becomes official. Because, I mean, let's be honest, 71 hit points, self-healing right away. Because, you know, look, it's just, you know, I don't know, it's maybe a bit too much. But again, on the other end, I mean, what else do you get at level 14 other than this? I think it's definitely one of the more powerful features compared to other Druid level 14 features, but on the other hand, it might not be that bad either, you know, because there are classes in the game, namely Way of the Long Death Monk, which have absolutely ridiculous features like this, so it might not even be that bad, to be honest. I mean, it's only once a day, really, and yeah, I mean, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So, it pretty much, for you to be able to use this, you have to be knocked down to 0 hit points. So, oftentimes you don't want to do that because you lose concentration on spells and other things, you know. So, yeah, I mean, pros and cons to everything, obviously. And finally, we get to our Onomancy Wizard. The roleplay potential of this subclass is obvious and undeniable. I mean, I'm not gonna read too much into this, but, you know, this magic revolves around mystical, magical power of words and names, and you manage to accomplish more than any other wizard would be able to do through that one very specific way of, you know, weaving magic, weaving some extra magical potential into your spells. Maxing out your intelligence ability score is actually more important for you than most other wizards, and the subclass as a whole has more than a few unique ways to interact with other mechanics of the game. However, the mechanical implementation still has a few issues, in my opinion, in my view, so actually let's begin dissecting each and every one. Extract name. Right, so okay, so first and foremost, you get some bonus proficiencies, you learn one language, and gain calligrapher tools. It's mostly a ribbon feature, makes thematic sense for the way this class is described, but this is something obviously that's situational in either way, so yeah, sure, you having one more language is a good thing, but in most cases, most wizards comprehend languages anyway, so that kind of becomes a non-issue for most wizards, so yeah, mostly a ribbon feature. Makes sense in terms of theme, again. What we are mostly interested in is extract name. This will immediately force the DM to have a list of names for every single goddamn monster type or NPC you'll be dealing with, so you're basically forcing him or her to do some extra work. Now, some DMs won't have a problem with it at all. Some will hate this feature because, I mean, a lot of DMs, me first, struggle with names, you know. A player comes and asks, you know, what's your name? I don't have a name for every NPC. No DM has a name for every NPC. No DM has a name for every monster. You just drop a generic monster out there and, you know, player skill it and that's it. But, you know, this particular feature will force the DM to actually probably have a list of names prepared just in case the player decides to be an absolute dick, which granted you can do with this feature, and just like go to town, literally go to every city and then ask a DM, okay, I'm gonna use my bonus action and DM, tell me what's the name of that kid over there. Tell me what's the name of that old person over there. Tell me the name of that dog over there. Tell me the name of that rat over there. You can literally be a dick with this. So I don't actually recommend that. Don't ever be a dick. That's just bad manners. But we all know about the horror stories of players being dicks and even DMs being dicks. So be careful, you know. Again, some DMs won't have a problem with it. Some will. And that's about it for that. Another issue is actually good old wording. A lot of monsters are immune to charm condition, and the feature specifically says, and you mentally learn the charm target's name, or the fact that the target lacks a name. So, you know, what happens? So does this mean you simply can't learn the target's true name if it's immune to charm condition? Well, if that's the case, good luck using all of these other features, because pretty much everything in this subclass revolves around you knowing the true name of the creature that you're targeting with your spells and features. So I would assume this is mostly a slip up. This can be easily fixed, because in a way it's worded, I would assume that not only do you charm the target, but on top of that you also mentally learn its name. But it does say charm target's name. You know, what if the target again is immune to the charm condition, and then you can learn its name because it's immune. So a DM can very easily shut your whole character down by just dropping one monster after another monster, every one monster being immune to charm condition. Now again, this is bad DMing in my opinion, because if a DM is constantly throwing monsters that are nullifying your features, then, you know, it's just meta DMing. But, you know, those things kind of exist in, at least in little doses, you know. Sometimes DMs just meta knowledge a little bit, you know, just to make encounters a little bit more challenging. And it definitely comes into play in this particular subclass, because again, a lot of monsters are actually immune to charmed condition. So there's that, you know. And maybe all of this might not even be that big of a problem if your other higher level features didn't revolve around the failure or success of this feature, right? So in a way, I do like that the features actually synergize with each other, but in this case I think it's a little bit too much, you know. Everything past this point revolves around you knowing the true name of the creature that you're targeting. So it's kind of like a push and pull. On the flip side though, you will be able to burn some legendary resistances using nothing but a free bonus action given to you by this feature, because meta or not meta, no sane DM is going to just let you learn the true name of a monster without some effort and then abuse it with all of your other features and spells. And again, expect all the monsters, or at least most of them, mysteriously having slightly bigger bonuses to their wisdom saving throws, most likely. Because at some point, you know, DM is gonna probably realize, okay, this class is actually very powerful, you know, and this motherfucker keeps learning the true names of my monsters. Let me drop some legendary resistances, and on top of that, let me actually increase its wisdom saving throws, because it's quite potent, you know. So again, there's a balance in the way that DMs can do this, but every DM does it at least to some extent. If you truly want to challenge your party, at some point you stop even worrying about the deadliness of the challenge. The only thing you're worried about, okay, what does this monster actually do? What are its resistances, immunities, how much damage, what conditions does it inflict? You know, does it have a regeneration, how much hit point, whatever, all of that stuff, you know, how hard is it to hit? What are its saving throws, all of that stuff. All of that actually comes into proper combat encounter design, in my opinion. That's at least how I do it. On the other hand, you know, some DMs do like numbers, so they usually like just stick some random numbers into random monsters into calculations, and You have your easy encounters, deadly encounters, whatever, you know. So, yeah. That's it, you know. Fateful naming, another level 2 feature. It will be very useful at lower levels when you don't really have that many spell slots to spend, and you don't really have that many spells to concentrate on. You don't really have that many options. Both Bane and Bless are good. Bless is probably even better at lower levels. Not probably, definitely better, because it's consistent. It's way more consistent than Bane. So actually, let me compare the two of them. So Bane, they kind of work. They're opposite in the way they work. Bane inflicts -1d4 to all attack rolls and saving throws to the creatures that you target, but they do make a charisma saving throw. So you pretty much cast this on enemies all the time. Why would you ever cast this on allies? Bless, however, you do cast it on your allies because it gives them plus 1d4 to their attack rolls and saving throws. If you didn't know, obviously that's it. Now, obviously, Bless not having anything, it works every time. You know, you cast it and 3 creatures get affected, period. 100%. Bane, not really. If they succeed on the charisma saving throw, yeah, the effect is kind of diminished. So in that regard, I consider Bless much better on lower levels. One of the best early game buff spells, and it's definitely more consistent than Bane. But the latter, the Bane spell, obviously, can be quite valuable if your party members rely on saving throw mechanics more than attack rolls. It's not specified whether you can only cast those spells, these two spells, Bane and Bless, at their lowest first level, but that's how most features, such as this one, features that give you some extra spells, that's how they work anyway, so I don't think this one is any different. That said, wizards have a ton of cool spells to concentrate on as they keep leveling up. Even at lower levels, Protection from Evil and Good, you know, Blur is actually a very good defensive spell. You know, they need those spells to survive the early game pains. Later on, you'll probably pick up Haste, you know, to buff your party member, maybe even yourself. Hypnotic Pattern is a very, very good control spell. Polymorph, again, I mean, casting it on yourself or your ally, even casting it on your enemy and trying to turn it into a snail, it's a very, very potent spell. All of these spells are concentration, and you can only have one active at a time. So, you know, you really don't want to be casting Bane or Bless for the remainder of your career. So, in a way, this feature kind of becomes useless, you know. Sure, you can cast these two spells without wasting slots, you know, up to your intelligence modifier, but if you know the true name of the creatures, I mean, obviously, using your bonus action, you can find the name of your enemy, and you most likely know at least one true name of your party members that you can cast Bane on. So, yeah, I mean, it can still be useful at higher levels, but it diminishes because you have better spells to concentrate on. So, in a way, I don't see this feature being that scalable other than just completely going with the theme, and that's not entirely unwarranted, so we are gonna talk about that real soon. A good way to actually make this feature a bit more relevant at higher levels, in my opinion, might be to actually scale it in some way with higher levels, higher level casting of these two spells. So, for example, both Bane and Bless can be casted as higher level spells, and they affect more creatures. For every higher level slot, you affect one more creature. And obviously being able to, I don't know, cast Bane as whatever, 5th level spell, that would be able to, I don't know, affect, is it like 8 creatures instead of 3 creatures? I think it is, yeah. Or maybe 7, 8, whatever. Whatever the number is better than just 3, right? So I think that would be somewhat better way to, I don't know if that would be overpowered, I don't think so. Because again, you have to concentrate on both of these spells. That means you can't concentrate on some other more powerful wizard spell. So yeah, I mean, I think that would kind of make it more relevant. Bane does increase in value at higher levels due to penalties to saving throws, and saving throws become more and more important at higher levels. you do want monsters to start failing saving throws. So you can burn through higher challenge rating monsters' legendary resistances quite effectively. You know, you have your bonus section to find its name. The DM is most likely gonna be using legendary resistance against those, because you're gonna see really soon why. And then on top of that, Bane, obviously, I mean, it kind of synergizes with all of your other stuff, so yeah, I mean, definitely very, very useful. So, Resonant Utterance, you know, it's a level 6 feature, fairly low level. You learn 2 out of these 6 options called Resonance, one of which you can replace with another one every time you level up. This allows you to fix your mistakes, as well as adapt to higher level spells requiring different approaches, right? As you keep leveling up, some of these options kind of lose their appeal, lose value, in a way. It's a long rest dependent feature with the number of uses tied to your wizard level, so this is kind of like what I was talking about this, you know. You need to have wizard features scale with higher levels, at least, you know, or at least, you know, be useful, universally useful, you know. This is not universally useful in my opinion, no. As you keep getting higher levels in wizard, you will definitely want to concentrate on higher level spells, you know, that there's just no way around it. So I think this needs to have just a little bit of a buff, you know. Maybe just make it that every, I don't know, at level 5, at level 11, and then at level 17, maybe you can cast these spells as higher level spells, you know. Anything to make this a little bit more appealing than just 3 targets, you know. 3 targets at level 2, 3 targets at level 20. That's just, I don't know. That's just my opinion on it, obviously. So in order for any of these 6 options to work, again, extract name comes up into play. It comes up even to fateful naming, if I kind of glanced over that. I mean, in order to cast these 2 spells without spending a slot, you need to know their true names. Yeah, I mean, this feature, everything revolves around extract name. While that's that's definitely keeping up with the theme, on the other hand, it's bad, especially if it's intended in a way that if the target is immune to charm condition, you cannot learn its name. I'm not exactly sure. I think that's just bad. I think you should learn its name regardless of whether if it's immune to charmed or not. But the way it's worded, it kind of is ambiguous, at least to me. I don't know, maybe it's already been saged advice. Probably somebody asked Jeremy Crawford this question. I don't know. I didn't Google it. It never occurred to me, so I'm not gonna waste time on it now. So yeah, maybe some other time. Maybe in the comments I leave some links that shed some light on this issue. Anyway, these options definitely, I mean, you have more uses of them. You start with 3 uses at level 6. It gets to 4 at level 8 because of the rounded down. So yeah, it gets up to 10 uses at level 10. That's actually quite a bit of uses out of level 6 feature, and let me tell you, some of these options are very, very juicy. So, Absorption gives you temporary hit points, and in my opinion, this is probably the best thing to take. One of the best options at level 6, and for a couple more levels, because wizards have notoriously low hit points. Even at level 6, you are like at 30-40 hit points. You're still dangerously close to 0, so you can definitely benefit from this, you know. Even though it might not be that much, 3d6 temporary, if nothing else, it's gonna at least, I don't know, negate 1 damage that you receive from a hit or some spell or whatever. Or at least mitigate some of it, right? Devastation is a very nice combo with Bane, you know. This Resonant is the reason why casting Bane is actually better than just, you know, casting it on its own. Because, you know, you combine Bane, which already subtracts -1d4 from saving throws, and then on top of that, the creature has disadvantage on the first save it makes against the spell. Yeah, this becomes, you know, you stack 1 penalty on another penalty. This can seriously hamper the target's ability to pass all like to pass the saving throws in the future. So yeah, I mean, I think it's very good. Probably better at higher levels than on lower levels, but even on lower levels, if you obviously once you get Fireball, I mean, and then you use this, you know, and then you really want the creature to fail the dex save so that you can kill it easier. That can be a way to do things, you know, so definitely useful. I mean, you can definitely find uses for it even on lower levels. This solution is, look, is only good if you care about maximizing the damage output. Sure, I mean, playing the game of chance of the creature rolling badly with disadvantage and then -1d4, that doesn't guarantee the extra damage. So if it rolls above, it still takes half damage from Fireball. This solution kind of like always deal a bit of extra damage. So even if it fails the saving throw, if it succeeds on the saving throw, you still deal some damage. I just think that this is the weakest option, you know. You have better ways to do more powerful stuff other than this, you know. So you will probably learn this at some point, especially after you hit level 10, more on that soon, but I think this is one of the weaker options. Sure, every bit of damage helps, and force damage is the best damage type in the game because it's only... I don't think any monster is even resistant to force damage. There's only one monster who's like immune. I think that's that armored suit of armor, like animated armor is it? I don't know. I don't even know. Let me just check real quick. Let me check my animated armor. Is it actually immune to force? No, psychic and poison. So I do remember one monster being immune or at least resistant, but that's about it. There's like only 2 or 3 of them. So sure, yeah, it's good, but I personally, I wouldn't go for just like give me more damage, yeah, because I think these things are more important at, you know, various stages of your character progression. Nullification, how do you pronounce it? I'm not sure. It's actually interesting because it can serve as a pseudo dispel magic, which you kind of get for free by casting Bless, because you can cast Bless for free if you know at least one of your party members' names. I mean, if you want to dispel some spell on the party member, but you're out of slots, you use Nullification and then cast Bless maybe. You don't even waste any slot. And then you have a chance to lift one of this, to lift the spell affecting it. It's very interesting, you know. The mechanic is I mean, it's not unique because Dispel Magic works in the same way, obviously, but Dispel Magic does at least guarantee that you can immediately, automatically stop the spells of level 3 or lower. This pretty much forces you to make ability check every time, but it is a way to tie up all these features together, you know, you knowing the name and then casting Bless, you know, and then stopping one of the spells. It's very interesting, you know. Definitely offers some situational but very powerful ways to deal with spell casting enemies, obviously. So yeah, Puppetry offers a bit of battlefield control and potential synergy with other party members' spells and features. I wouldn't consider this powerful resonant on its own, but it does become more powerful, let's say, if you have a druid in your party who casts Spike Growth, you know. So, for example, yeah, every time the creature moves, it gets 2d4 piercing damage every 5 feet, so that's 4d4 damage by you just using this thing. Again, you know, it's just damage in this case, you know. Sure, sometimes you might actually push the creature away from you, so you don't have to use your disengage, or maybe you want to push the creature away from your ally. I mean, there are situations where this might be useful, but what I usually like to do with features like this, I want to take something that's either super impactful but situational, or very, very versatile and useful in a wide range of scenarios, but maybe not that impactful, but very versatile, obviously. Sympathy definitely falls into the first category, right? For example, it's most likely the most powerful option, especially for higher tier wizards, past like level 9 or something. For example, just the first thing that pops to mind, Wall of Force pretty much is total cover, right? It's been said multiple times, it's been confirmed by Jeremy Crawford that Wall of Force, by the rules of the game, provides total cover. And then by using this resonant, even the creature behind total cover, that even if you can't see it and or it has total cover, in this case you can see it because Wall of Force is transparent, but it provides total cover. You can still target the creature with your spell. It's probably the most powerful thing because you can do stuff with this. Some things pop to my mind, but if I start talking about, then the video is gonna last way too long. It wouldn't hurt to have more options to choose from because at level 10 you gain 2 more resonance, so basically you learn 2 at level 6. You learn you learn 2 at level 6. You learn additional 2 at level 10, so pretty much like 4 out of these 6 you're gonna eventually learn, and level 10 is not even that high for a wizard because actually a lot of people actually do reach level 10. So basically, I mean, you would probably learn 4 out of 6 of these that make the most sense for you, and yeah, I mean, I already shed some of the thoughts of which ones I consider more powerful and which ones I consider a bit less powerful. So more options would definitely keep up with the general theme of the wizard. Wizards are the ones who get the most spells to learn, the widest range of spells and all of that stuff. So yeah, I would definitely prefer to have more options here. I mean, maybe they just ran out of inspiration what to do, but just like 2, 3, 4 more options. 4 more options would be perfect, 10 options to choose from, and you learn 4 of them. That's kind of seems like the general 5th edition vibe, 5th edition theme of how the subclasses are, designed. Relentless naming, level 14 feature. All of those fireballs are now force balls and mental balls with all of this force and psychic damage. Powerful, feels a bit generic. It wouldn't hurt if the feature allowed choice to inflict some type of condition instead of just changing the damage type. Then again, it's one of the better level 14 wizard features to begin with. I mean, just changing the damage type is... I mean, it's downright ridiculous sometimes because you can completely bypass immunities and resistances to certain damage types. Starting from Fireball, which is one of the best damaging level 3 spells. It is the best one. It's been confirmed to be overpowered for a level 3 spell. Yeah, I mean, then again, it's a level 14 feature. And wizards do have the spellcasting as their deepest customization feature. As I said, widest range of spells, they can learn a lot of them. They can learn even more of them if they find spellbooks, scrolls, whatever. So, I guess there might be such a thing as too much variety, so in a way, the way to balance things is to just like focus things down into a narrow theme, just like dealing more damage, different types of damage, being a bit combat oriented instead of just like being a generalist wizard. So yeah, sure, I mean, it makes sense. I would prefer if it was a little bit more, a little bit different than just like, okay, let's focus on damage. I mean, damage this, damage that. Sure, this is not damage, but it's one of the very few things that it doesn't do damage with this wizard, so I don't know. It's good. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's very, very good. But again, it suffers from the same issue. You have to know the name. It's not very easy to get the name at higher levels. A lot of monsters are actually very good at wisdom saving throws. And that goes back to my first point of this wizard being particularly reliant on high intelligence score, because you need a high spell save DC. In order to find out the name, so that all of these other goodies and toys can actually work, And if the DM throws monsters with legendary resistances and wisdom saving throw proficiencies, you're kind of out of luck, The monsters are gonna keep succeeding on those saves. Again, on the flip side, at least you're gonna burn through those resistances quicker than maybe some other wizards. And yeah, that would kind of like be it. I think of all of these three, Cleric is probably the most. I think it's kind of broken. Maybe I don't know. Maybe not. But I think Eyes of the Night is ridiculous. Midnight Shroud, sure, it's abusable, but it can at least be dealt with. Like, just like, okay, put the party in a 50 by 50 room. It doesn't really even matter, you know. So yeah, I mean, sure. But on the other hand, I don't know. Circle of the Wildfire seems balanced, you know. Sure, I mean, it has a couple of powerful features, especially at low level. Like, you can deal serious amount of damage, you know. Once you hit level 3, Scorching Ray, 3 times 2d6 damage. Sure, you might miss some, but you're definitely gonna hit with one of them. And then on top of that, bonus section with Wildfire Spirit, additional 1d6 plus 2. Oh boy, like you can go mini Nova with this druid. But then on the other hand, like, the damage output is not anything unheard of. And then we have a Moon Druid, which obviously has ridiculous amount of hit points. So yeah, in a way it's kind of balanced, you know. Sure, it offers some nice ways to cast spells and heal your allies, maybe even hurt your enemies, and even like keep yourself alive very, very effectively. But I think it's balanced, you know. Sure, we might see some tweaks, but I don't think it's broken. Onomancy, I think it's too narrowly focused. Maybe some more variety would help this class. Sure, the Resonant does offer a variety of ways for you to, you know, interact with the targets whose names you know, but it's kind of the same old, just in different flavors and varieties. At least one of these features shouldn't be reliant on a level 2 feature, which again is written in a way that can reasonably imply that if the target is immune to charm condition, you cannot know its true name, and then all of your other features fall in water. You just can't use them. So yeah, that's about it, guys. If you like the video, like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell button. You know the YouTube drill. I am gonna try and hurry up with the release of these other Unearthed Arcanas. We've just recently gotten the new one, basically yesterday. The class feature variants. I've actually skimmed through it from start to finish. Some good stuff, some bad stuff. Definitely the theme of these 2019 Unearthed Arcanas, these subclasses and new options, I can say with reasonable amount of certainty that power creep is a thing that is obviously introduced in all of these Unearthed Arcanas, but so has it been with older Unearthed Arcanas anyway, so it's kind of like nothing new. We had our Lore Wizards, we had our Twilight Druids, which resulted in some ridiculous multi-class combinations and even just like single-class characters. So yeah, the reason why those Unearthed Arcanas never saw the light of day as official materials is because they were a bit overpowered. I don't think any of these three classes are as a whole a bit too overpowered. There are ways to deal with them, but if I need to pick out one feature out of all of the features in this particular document, it would probably be Eyes of the Night. And with that, I'm gonna conclude this video. Again, like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell button, you know the drill. If you like the way I present information in these videos, let me know in the comments down below. If you don't agree with some of my opinions here, let's discuss it. I mean, we learn through discussion, and I don't claim to be the one who knows it all. Nobody knows everything, and my opinions are largely based on my own DMing experience, my own experience playing the game, but I know for a fact that I don't play the game the same way that other people and other tables play. First and foremost, I have very limited exposure to actually playing using the Unearthed Arcana playtest materials, so yeah, I mean, if you have more experience with those and just like want to share your opinions, definitely drop it down in the comments down below. And again, if you like, chuck a bug my way. I am gonna be revamping some of my tiers here, so the scripts for these videos, for these particular Unearthed Arcana overviews, reviews, I'm probably gonna start releasing them under the Fireball tier, so stay tuned for that if you're interested. And obviously for all my other materials, it's being released on my Patreon page, just like regularly. As soon as I release the video, I release the notes. So yeah, there's always an option of magical secrets. And none of this is mandatory. As you can see, I speak forever about these things, and you can just keep watching my videos. You don't have to pay anything. But if you want some convenience and perks and Discord servers where we do discuss every now and then, as you can see, it's been quite lively recently. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously those perks. Definitely, you know, if you're interested, you're free to join. But more on that later. I am gonna have a bit more announcements about those. With that said, MinMax Munchkin out, and talk to you soon.